Let's address the matter of how Luisa's work stands within the church. Because currently, of course, as this comes more to light and becomes known by more people, many doubts and especially many opinions arise. There are those who, without knowing how things are, based on their own judgment, really have or form a completely negative opinion against, especially against Luisa, to the point that some people say that it is all falsehoods and lies. Others go further, saying it is the work of the devil. Others cannot accept that Luisa is the first and believe that everything else is invalid. And all because they do not understand. And as I said, based on pride, that consists of trusting in their own judgment and not in humbly investigating how things are, to illuminate their own judgment with the judgment given by those appointed by God to judge. In Luisa's time, it was not like it is now. Despite the small difference of years, say 100, it was not like now. When the Blessed Virgin gives a message to some visionaries, and within 15 minutes, everyone knows it, without anyone judging it, and there is no one to authorize it in detail. Everything that happens, things keep happening, and everyone judges. In Luisa's time, it wasn't like that. There was no internet, there was nothing. It was a very different situation. A life of 60 years bedridden. A life, let's say it, strange in our eyes. But that made the superiors, in this case, the bishop, the archbishop, have to take charge, many times personally, of the entire development of Luisa's life. Many times he did it personally, and other times through people designated by him to see, to assist Luisa in everything, that not so much in Luisa's needs, but in the whole process of knowing if what was happening there was a matter of God or a matter of a crazy woman. To reach this conclusion, they didn't just read half a page of her writings and judge lightly. For example, saying, no, this can't be, this is heresy, period, that's it. No, there were studies, and it was under the supervision of the archbishop designated, we can say, by God. He was in charge, as any bishop is in charge, by God, of what happens in his diocese. He is the responsible one, the one who judges and governs. So in Luisa's time, all the bishops took care of Luisa's life, directly and indirectly, through the designated confessors who went to see her, as you know, every day. They had to go celebrate the Holy Mass for her. In those times, it was not like now, that in that sense priests have much more freedom to celebrate Mass, wherever they feel conditions are suitable. But the older people here will remember that to say a Mass outside the church, you needed express permission from the bishop. To celebrate Mass outside of the church, And Luisa had daily mass at her house by a priest who went to see her every day, that was capable of judging, of knowing what was happening there.
No contentos con eso, en varias ocasiones, el señor arzobispo,
not content with that, on several occasions, the archbishop called people from Rome, experts in spiritual life, theologians from the faculties of the universities of Rome, especially from the Antoniano, were one of the confessors who was Father Hannibal de Francia. Not content with that, after years and years of favorable opinions, in just a minute we will read some, and Alejandro will tell us about others. With all seriousness, those people appointed by God to assist in this work, and all had a favorable opinion. There are some written testimonies of how they viewed things. Imagine that they did studies on Luisa that, according to those times, included psychology, neurology, all the studies available. Do not think that the archbishops of that time took things lightly. No, it was not the case that could be taken lightly and publicly. No one could read Luisa's writings except the confessor. And so it was for years and years and years. Not like now, when a message from the Blessed Virgin is read by everyone within 15 minutes, and in one day there is a mistake no one can even notice. No one judges. No one says, no, this shouldn't be, this doesn't go like this. I am not just talking about Medjugorje, but in general the current environment of things. Back then it wasn't this way. I personally knew an elderly lady advanced in years when I met her who cared for Luisa for almost 30 years. And she spoke about how when she was a child, on one occasion, there were several girls with her. On this one occasion, they took a notebook and started to read it. And Luisa said, no, do not read it. You do not have permission to read it. Why? Because the confessors and everyone there took things seriously. This could not be read by anyone until the authority says it can be. Not even those people who were with Luisa could read it. Over the many years, and several archbishops, they monitored all this, monitored in the sense that they had a presence, conducted studies, investigations, and there is so much that can be said about this that will come to mind as we speak. All those confessors seriously conducting tests, discerning if it was really Jesus speaking, for which there were many elements, and Jesus himself bent over backwards, let's say, to prove it was him. There are several things in Luisa's writings where she recounts how our Lord did everything to prove it was him to the confessor.
Por ejemplo, este punto que ahorita nos va a decir.
For example, this point that Alejandro will now tell us about.
For example, Luisa was tested. One of the tests that the confessor imposed on Luisa for many years was the test of obedience, that she be subject to obedience in everything, and not only her, but also the one who claimed to be Jesus. Since Jesus was obedient all his life until death, even death on the cross, if it was truly Jesus, he had to be obedient to the priesthood because he himself instituted the priesthood. From the moment Luisa took to her bed to begin her state of being a victim soul, Jesus told her to ask for obedience from her confessor, to offer herself as a victim soul and stay in bed for a certain time. And that's how Luisa began her life of obedience. She did nothing without obedience. Similarly, after several years of being bedridden and the confessor visiting her daily to see how things were with her, it was then that he gave her the obedience to write, but only after many years. Don't think that as soon as she was bedridden, the priest gave her the obedience to write. It was after several years of observing her state and the teachings that Jesus was giving her when he said, yes, you have to write. Besides, to check whether it's true and control and monitor all of it, and also to have it all written as testimony. There is the obedience. Luisa, on her own, would never have written a single word, and she says it so many times, especially when Jesus tells her about her special mission. Almost all those chapters start, I write out of pure obedience, and I write this because my confessor told me I had to write it, and I do it in obedience. Then later, one of the tests she recounts, for example, in the first volumes that the confessor imposed, was that he told Luisa she must at once reject Jesus, that she was not to speak to him. Luisa herself could not believe it. How is it possible that the confessor is commanding me to tell Jesus not to talk to me if he is God? When Jesus appeared to her that day, the first thing Luisa said to him was, Jesus, see what the confessor has ordered me? That I don't talk to you. And Jesus said to her, my daughter, abnegation. Jesus, of course, knew that it was a test from the confessor. Then Jesus himself withdrew from Luisa and did not speak to her that day. Then the next day, the confessor arrived and asked her, so what happened? Well, this happened. I told Jesus such, and Jesus told me abnegation, and I obeyed and left. Then the confessor said, well, I repeat the obedience. You are to keep doing the same, and you are not to call on Jesus. Luisa did this for 2-3 days, of course dying of sorrow beyond our understanding. After those days, Jesus helped Luisa understand. He gave her an explanation she was to give to the confessor, and the confessor would understand that he was God, and that he was going to continue. He would continue and keep talking. It was just a temporary test for a certain time. See there how Jesus also obeyed and gave the proof to the confessor? Another test. After Jesus took Luisa several times to heaven, where he espoused her to himself, of course, she wanted to go to heaven because she could see, perceive, and know Jesus, not like us, but much more. When she was at the point of death from suffering, feeling she was going to heaven, she was so happy to go to heaven. But the confessor find her in this state several times, not just once, at least 5 or 6 times that I can remember, told her, no, by obedience, no. I command you not to die now. You'll continue living. And Luisa had to, by obedience, renounce going to heaven. She wasn't renouncing just a little thing. She did it out of obedience. She reached a heroic level in obedience. This was one of the tests, the heroic level of obedience, by which her confessor or confessors saw that what was happening with Luisa was a work of God and that this was Jesus speaking.
Otra de las pruebas, se puede decir,
Another
es el
test.
amor de Luisa al sufrimiento.
One could say, is
Este
Luisa's
amor, para
love
los que
for
ya más o menos
suffering.
hemos leído algo o sabemos de la vida de Luisa, cómo
This
ella
love,
sufría,
for those of us who
claro,
have
por
read
la
a
privación
bit
de
or
Jesús,
know about
pero
Luisa's
llegaba al
life,
grado
how
que
she
decía, "Jesús,
suffered,
¿cómo es posible tú?"
of course, due to the privation of Jesus, but to such an extent that she say, Jesus, how is it possible? You have withdrawn from me. I can't perceive you. I can't feel you. Although Jesus was with her, there were moments when she couldn't feel him, and that was the privation. But besides that, I also find myself deprived of pain. What have I done to not only be deprived of you, but to be deprived of the cross, which you give so abundantly to everyone? And it's not that Luisa wasn't suffering at that moment. She was suffering the privation and other sorrows, but she wanted to suffer more. Such great love for suffering could not be the fruit of her imagination. Who among us, by our imagination, would like to suffer? Our human nature is inclined to the opposite. We want to avoid suffering. If Luisa reached that level of suffering, it was because God definitely infused it in her. How many chapters are there in which Jesus speaks to her of the beauty, of the preciousness of suffering? And as my dad said, it wasn't just talking to her, giving her the message, but beforehand he had already worked in her soul and infuse that love for suffering. That's why we see in Luisa the fruits. It's another of the fruits or evidence that it was God's work. Another, look how many we already have too, right? Obedience, love of suffering, or the cross. Another is peace. And well, if we can imagine, sometimes we get sick with the flu for say 2-3 days. We might have to stay in bed and we feel so uncomfortable. Maybe we even say, oh, I want to get out. I want to do something else. Luisa spent 60 years or more in bed. Out of love for God, never was she heard making an act of impatience. Never was she seen agitated, upset, disturbed. No, always in perfect peace. And when something began to disturb that peace in her soul, it was the first thing that Jesus came to tell her, my daughter, disturbance are not from me. Remove the shadows of disturbance so that my light can shine in its fullness. Also, peace in suffering. In all her circumstances, which were many and very painful at times, persecutions, calumnies, having to depend on the priests daily, that for her was the heaviest cross, having to depend on the priests daily, who had to help her come back to herself. And yet she suffered it with perfect peace. Who infused that peace in her? Impossible that it was her own nature, her imagination, or her pride, or less the devil. The devil leaves confusion, disturbance, leaves despair when he makes someone suffer. Only God gives peace in all circumstances, and especially in suffering. Another evidence that it was truly a work of God. There are more. When God wants to demonstrate in a clear and strong way that He is the one who is working, as He did with Jesus, throughout the history of the church, and God intervenes with miracles and with prophecies. These are the forms of direct intervention by God, because miracles go beyond human nature, modifying in certain circumstances and at a specific and determined time some law of nature. And this can only be done by the author of the laws of nature, which is God.
En el futuro,
This is the miracle. And the prophecy is to know what's going to happen in the future. But not things that we can know on our own. For example, if there will be an eclipse or not. We can know that through the laws of nature. But events
eso solo lo puede saber Dios.
that come from the free will of man,
Entonces, cuando
only
hay esas
God
cosas
can know
que
that.
son comprobadas que fueron verdaderas por la autoridad
When
de la iglesia,
there are these prophecies
entonces,
and they are proven to be true by the authority of the church, it is a sign that God intervened. And God will never intervene to do either of these two things, miracles or prophecies, to endorse a work in which He is not involved, in which there's deception, in which there's falsehood. That's why when they are going to beatify or canonize a saint, the church asks, as a requirement, a miracle, that is, the direct intervention of God, and a miracle recognized by the church, because also the devil can do certain wonders, but once studied and documented by the church, it can be affirmed that they are from God, that it is God's work. What kind of miracles are associated with Luisa? Well, there were several mentioned by her own confessors. One of them could be or is that Luisa lived all the time she was in bed without food.
Comulgaba, sí. Pero no tenía necesidad de comer.
Yes, she did receive communion, but she had absolutely no need for any food. From the beginning, when they gave her food, she would return it. Then Jesus told Luisa to ask her confessor for the obedience to no longer eat anything. Luisa told the confessor, Jesus wants you to give me the obedience that I never taste food again because I have no need for food. Jesus will be my nourishment. The confessor did not want to give her this obedience. He said, no, that would draw too much attention. To avoid this, at least once a day you will eat something, even a few almonds or a bunch of grapes. And then Jesus and Luisa obeyed. But here comes another prodigy. Since Jesus did not want Luisa to take that food, what happened? Luisa would eat it, chewed it, swallow it, and she would return it whole within a few minutes. This happened daily throughout her life. A phenomenon that was able to be studied, as was already mentioned by several doctors, professors, theologians, all kinds of people. It was not just an isolated phenomenon that happened suddenly and nobody studied it, and in the town the people started talking, saying, oh, miracle, Luisa did this. No, it was something that happened for so many years that it was able to be studied. As I explained before, it was not a sudden miracle, but over so many years, almost as a continuous miracle, a continual intervention of God in Luisa's life. Another miracle, that she stayed in bed for so many years without ever developing any sores. This was also proven. Another, Luisa practically did not sleep. At night, she would remain in her usual state, in ecstasy, a state of suffering in which she felt the suffering. Not that she was not asleep. No, she felt the pain. When she came out of herself and saw Jesus, it was then that Jesus shared his sufferings with her, and she would be left suffering And if suddenly Jesus hid from her again within herself, then the pain of privation. And so all night long until the confessor came in the morning to bring her back to herself and restore the use of her limbs. But then she had had sleep all night, but suffered. And she lived like this for so many years. What person can live without sleeping? It is not that Luisa looked bad. No, she looked like a normal person. That was another miracle, which was also studied and verified. And so, several phenomena regarding prophecies, too. There were several prophecies. Simply to start her life as a victim soul, the confessor had his doubts, logically. And one of the proofs Jesus gave him was a prophecy that Italy and Africa would go to war, and that Africa would win. If they went to war, everyone thought Italy would win because it was more developed, had more weapons, and yet it happened exactly as Jesus told Luisa and as Luisa told the confessor. They went to war and Africa won. Then he said, oh, yes, it is the work of God. And so several other prophecies were the First World War, the Second, and even the atomic bomb. In volume 21, there is that prophecy, and so many other prophecies perhaps have yet to be fulfilled. But there is all this intervention of God through prophecies and miracles, which her own confessors, I repeat, could study and conclude that they were true. And at the beginning of this book, there are two testimonies of those who studied this, plus the testimony of the Father Benedicto Calvi, who was her last confessor, and in the letters of Father Hannibal. You can also see the testimony of Father Hannibal.
Yes, regarding Father Hannibal, he also arrived in Corrado in 1910. And he was a well-known priest because he was founding in the south, in Messina, a congregation called the Grogationist Fathers. Here in Mexico, they may not be well known, but in Los Angeles, around there is more knowledge. And he founded it with the idea that a phrase from the gospel, pray to God to send laborers to his harvest. With that, pray to God, he based it to create his congregation with the charism of the Rogationist. So he was already a well-known priest. He went to Corrado, and the Archbishop, knowing his prudence, his formation, appointed him censor of the writings that Luisa, up to that date, had written, and director in what referred to the publication he wanted to make of Luisa's writings. All this team of people was, as I said, entrusted by God through the bishop's authority to control, verify, and judge. Father Hannibal Maria de Francia dedicated himself with his position as ecclesiastical censor, which at that time was taken seriously. Now in the church, all that has decreased quite a bit. But anyway, he took things seriously and read all the writings and asked Luisa many times verbally, many times in writing. And there are letters, explanations of some points that he did not understand. Of course, this father was not ignorant. He was someone who had studied and knew. He was a serious person. Years passed, and convinced by all the evidence and based on all the knowledge of Luisa as narrated by Alejandra, and with many other things, fully convinced that it was a work of God. He gave his nihil obstat with all the authority he had from the bishop, that is, from the church, and the archbishop, behind the nihil obstat of the censor, gave the imprimatur to all the volumes that Luisa had written, from 1 to 19. And Father Anibal, at that time, has some letters and testimonies about Luisa where he is absolutely persuaded and affirms that it is Jesus who speaks and that it is the work of God that was realized in Luisa. In fact, he was so convinced that he told Luisa, I give you the obedience to write everything. You must not stop writing a single word. And if you do so voluntarily, it will be under pain of mortal sin. That's how seriously they took things. Anyway, time passed. The hours of the Passion were published, and they were published under his name. Time passed to avoid too many details. The hours of the Passion were published. They were very successful. They reached the Vatican. Accusations were made of Luisa in those times. Those who didn't know who Luisa was, nor what all had happened, thought she was just some seer who wanted to become famous, and to the Index of the Forbidden Books, a disciplinary measure by the Church at that time, which placed books in the Index of Forbidden Books, meaning this cannot be read until it is investigated. Or rather, this has already been investigated and it cannot be read anymore because it contains inconvenient or heretical content or whatever. In Luisa's case, it was a disciplinary measure, while everything else was being examined, because since there were so many volumes that had not been published, only the hours of the Passion, everything else had to be examined. Hence, that disciplinary measure, besides, it was seen in the Vatican that it was so. It was not something that they had already studied and decided to place in, but they placed it so they could study it later. Based on the arguments they gave, then, the next day, an editorial came out, for example, in the Roman Observer, that commented on this and said that a certain Luisa Picareta was placed in the Index, who was one of the many exalted seers who thought Jesus had spoken to them, and who wanted to make themselves known, publish everything their imagination told them with a fanfare. Whereas Luisa was exactly the opposite, totally reluctant to publish her writings, because she said, only I have been given this lot, that others should know what has passed between you and me. And they accused her. Well, they commented exactly the opposite. And there it is seen that they did not take things as judged, but as preventive to judge them later. While things were like this, time passed. And then came 1990. And the Church beatified Father Hannibal, as you all know. And of course, the Church knows what Father Hannibal did, wrote, and said, because to beatify him they surely studied all his life and his work. And within his work is everything he said about Luisa. And knowingly, they beatified him, as if saying, this one who spoke about this Luisa, who wrote about this Luisa, is blessed and is in heaven, and he is an example for the priest of our time, words spoken by the Pope. After that,
Iglesia de la Sagrada Congregación para las causas de los
the
santos,
church, the
emite un
Sacred
documento
Congregation for the Causes of
pidiéndole
Saints,
al señor arzobispo de Terani
issued a document
inicie la
telling
causa de Luis,
the Archbishop of Trani
que
to
abra la
begin
causa de beatificación de
Luisa's
Luis,
cause,
para lo cual
to open the
entrega
cause
todos
of
los
beatification of Luisa.
escritos que en aquel tiempo
And all the writings were
eran llevados
returned to
al
the
Vaticano
diocese
para estudiarlos y los devuelven
that
a la diócesis, los
had been
cuales
taken
reciben
at that time to the Vatican to be studied.
copiarlos, todos los escritos inéditos que había ahí, que son los
By
documentos
returning the writings, I mean they were allowed to copy the unpublished writings that were there, which were the volumes from 20 to 34,
La
36.
causa va caminando. Ahora
And so
el trabajo
things
que
are.
está haciendo es una transcripción
The
de todos
cause
los manuscritos
is progressing.
en forma de
Now the
computadora,
work
porque
being
hay
done is
computadoras,
a transcription of all the manuscripts
los tendrán que
into
examinar
computer
y
form,
leer.
because there are now computers, so that they are legible for those who will have to examine and read them. But they will find that they have the nihil obstat of someone whom the Church has beatified, and the imprimatur of an archbishop or several who approved them after examining and following her for years and years and years of life and events. And they, those appointed by God, those entrusted by God, are the ones who have given this opinion. So in the Church, I repeat, the cause continues. And knowingly they have beatified Father Hannibal, and now this is an approval, albeit indirect, of everything related to Luisa, of all her writings and all the work of God in her. How can they say later that in the Church Luisa, no? Would they say the Blessed One neither? No. They won't be able to. It's not that they can't say it, it's that God has led them there, so we can add more. The current Archbishop, Monsignor Casati, who is in charge of the cause of beatification, Archbishop of Trani, where Luisa lived, gave the imprimatur for Luisa's books. He is the one appointed by God, who bases it on what has been judged and on the entire file that he knows. And there are other bishops, other archbishops, for example, Monsignor Guizar, current Archbishop of Talabtatia, who knows all this, not Monsignor. He went to Corrado, was in Corrado, met and spoke with Monsignor. Corrado, who was the Archbishop at the time, spoke with Cardinal Ratzinger about all of this. That's why he gives the letters he gave me. You can see them. You can see them there. The authorization of an archbishop who knows what is happening and what he is saying and what he is doing. And for all this, the archbishop has also read everything, and Cardinal Ratzinger has also read. That's why the archbishop gives his approval, because he is relying on what Cardinal Ratzinger told him, not just taking a personal initiative to give approval of something that might be murky in the Church. No. The Archbishop took or undertook the task of going, investigating, speaking with the authorities to be able to give, to be capable of giving all these approvals that he has given us for these publications. So, as things are, there are others, other people, who reading half a page and not understanding say these are heresies. Others who say, well, what a strange thing, what a bizarre thing, this cannot be. Judging based on their own judgments without knowing anything at all. So as I said in Costa Rica 15 days ago, we have two opinions. We have two currents, one that opposes Luisa, calling her heretical,
que juzgan todo
who call her with all the negative adjectives possible,
sin haber sido
who
los
judge everything
elegidos por Dios para
sinisterly,
juzgar.
without having been
Y otra
chosen by God to judge.
Corriente, la de aquellos, otra
And
opinión, la de aquellos
another current,
arzobispos,
another opinion,
sacerdotes,
that of those
pastores, expertos,
archbishops,
examinaron a
priests,
Luisa, no una
confessors,
tarde, sino durante
experts
años y
who
años,
examined
todo lo que ya
Louisa,
dijimos.
not one
Alguien
afternoon,
que se
but for
enjugó,
years and
es decir, que
years,
examinó y
with
censuró
everything
los
we've
escritos,
already said.
y que
Someone
los
who
aprobó
censored,
y que
meaning
bien
examined and
expuso el
censored
decían,
the writings
no hay
and
nada en
approved
contra de la
them,
fe ni de las buenas costumbres,
and who gave them the
y que a
nihil
sabiendas de
obstat,
lo que hizo la
meaning
Iglesia
there
lo
is nothing
beatificó,
against
la
faith
otra
or
corriente,
good morals, and who knowingly the
donde
church
también está
beatified.
un arzobispo,
This
Carmelo
is the
Casati,
other
y
current,
Giuseppe Carata, que son los encargados
where there are also other
de la
archbishops,
arquidiócesis de Trani,
Carmelo
que
Casati
desarrollaron todo
and
esto,
Giuseppe
y otro
Carata,
arzobispo,
who are
que
in
para mí
charge of the
cuenta mucho
Archdiocese of
porque él vino
Chani, where all this
Monseñor
took
Ricardo
place,
Guizar Díaz, que
and
conociendo
another
y
archbishop
sabiendo
who
y habiendo
counts a
hablado
lot
con
for
todas
me
las
because it's
autoridades,
having
aprueba
talked
y
with all,
recomienda la lectura de los escritos de
and
Luisa.
another Monsignor Ricardo
Entonces,
Guizar Diaz, who knowingly and
estamos
having talked with all the authorities,
en
approves and
posibilidad
recommends
de
the
adherirnos a
reading
cualquiera
of
de las dos
Luisa's
corrientes,
writings. We are in a position to follow
cada quien con
either
la
of the two
inteligencia que
currents,
tiene y con la buena voluntad, ya
each
sabrá
person, with the
de qué
intelligence
lado
they have
quedar.
and with goodwill, will know which side to take.
Que no ha llegado el momento en que beatifiquen a Luisa, en que el Papa de su
The time
propia
has not
boca
yet come
diga,
for Louisa to be beatified,
no, no ha llegado.
for the Pope to proclaim it from his own mouth. Well,
¿Por qué?
it
Porque para allá
has
van.
not yet come,
O sea, ya
but
está todo.
it will come.
Este
Why?
piso
Because
sólido
that is
fuerte
where they are
para
heading.
que sobre él
That is, all this solid
la iglesia
foundation
caminando hacia allá.
has already been laid so that the church continues
Entonces, como
walking
yo
towards that direction.
Con este apoyo
So, as I say,
de esta
as I said
corriente
earlier,
que
with this
empieza
support
en el arzobispo de Trani de hace 60
of this
años,
current
o 80,
that starts with the
y que
Archbishop of
continúa
Trani from
con
60
todos los
or
demás
80 years ago
confesores, testimonios, estudios,
and continues with all the other
beatificaciones,
confessors,
arzobispos,
testimonies,
firmas,
studies,
recomendaciones, con
beatifications,
esa libertad y con esa solidez.
archbishops'
Por eso,
signatures,
hablo
recommendations,
con toda la boca,
with that freedom and that
sin
solidity.
temor. El problema
That's why I
después
speak without
va a ser
fear, without any fear.
que ahí están los escritos
The
de
problem
Luisa,
later will be that there
aprobados
are
por la
Louisa's
boca del
writings,
Papa. Y ahora el
approved
problema
by
va a
the
ser
Pope's
cómo
mouth.
los explicamos, cómo los vivimos y cómo
And
los
now the problem will
adaptamos a
be
nuestra
how we
vida.
explain them, how we
Y
live them,
también va a suceder
and how we
que
adapt
con
them
base
to
en
our
los escritos
lives.
de Luisa,
And it will
los,
also
aún de buena
happen
fe, los
that based
malinterpretan
on Louisa's writings,
Los mal
someone,
aplican.
even with good faith, misinterprets
Y luego,
them,
otras
misapplies
personas
them,
ven
and
estas
then
malas aplicaciones, estas malas
other people see
interpretaciones,
these
justamente
misapplications,
dicen,
these
"Eso no es así", y se
misinterpretations,
lo atribuyen a Luisa.
justly say that this is not so, and attribute it to
No
Louisa.
hacer, como decía Monseñor Casati,
So in this we
no
must be
hacer decir
very
a Luisa
careful,
lo que no dice,
not to make, as Monsignor Casati said,
y
not to make Louisa
tratar
say what
de
she did not
desprender de
say,
ahí
and not to try to derive from there,
ciertos conceptos o
and
ciertas
this
ideas
happens,
para beneficio propio,
certain concepts or
Para hacer
certain
grupos.
ideas for one's own benefit,
en plan de organizaciones
to make
y de
groups
instituciones y de directivos, porque ahí se
in the
mete ese
form
elemento
of
que no
organizations
está en
and
los escritos de
institutions and leaders,
Y eso
because
hace
that
que
introduces an element that is not
malinterpreten y
in
malapliquen
Louisa's
algunos
writings,
de los capítulos
and that
de
causes
enseñanzas
some
de Luisa,
chapters
porque lo hacen con una finalidad. Y eso
and teachings of
distorsiona.
Louisa to be misinterpreted and misapplied because it is not done with a purpose, and that distorts the truth written in Louisa. This is the
La Biblia
second
está
danger.
autorizada, pues sí, ¿quién-
A bit like the Protestants.
Y con Biblia en mano, ¿qué nos
Is the
dicen?
Bible authorized? Well, yes. Who disputes that?
Y entonces
And with
la
Bible in
Biblia,
hand, what
por lo
don't
que
they
dicen
say?
los protestantes que dice la Biblia,
And so,
pues tendremos que
judging the
esperar a la
Bible
Biblia.
by what Protestants say the Bible says, Well, we would have to condemn the Bible. No. We must judge the Bible by what the Bible says and how the church reads it. And then the problem is resolved. Well, for my part, I try to give you the quotes I give you, literally from Luisa. And I have no interest in forming any group, nor in being a leader of nothing, or anything. I am simply one more brother among you who may have read a bit more than you have of the writings of Luisa. I put myself in the position to being able to give you a bit of what I have advanced because I have had the books, the writings in my hands for many more years. And that is where my intervention ends. Let's say it does not go beyond that. I am one more, equal, neither director, nor leader, nor head, or anything. One more who wants to share with you an experience that you also already having. And that someone will serve you. Well, that's how things are. The attacks will come because as this becomes more public, the more attacks will come. Those people are crazy. Luisa is a heretic. They are outside the church, anti-Catholics. Well, to each there are two currents. Does anyone have any questions on this point? I don't know if it is clear to you what the current reality is. I think so. A question occurs. What was your experience when you started reading the writings of the Divine Will? Jose Luis answers, well, like yours. They put Luisa in front of you, you start reading, you start liking it, you start to be captivated, and you continue, and you understand more, and you delve deeper, just the same. Another question about the prohibition by a bishop of a community of Mexican priests, sons of the Divine Will.
Claro, es lo que yo decía un poquito hace rato. Cuando se toman los escritos.
Jose Luis answers, of course. It's what I was saying a little while ago. When the writings are taken with one or another purpose, with the aim of founding and creating, that interest comes in and causes things to be distorted. It is not Luisa who was condemned. It is not Luisa. Because Luisa has all the current that I just mentioned and all the support. The problem is how they were applying it. That was what the bishops didn't like. How they were applying it concretely. That was what the bishops didn't like. Do not make communities. And rightly so. Living in the Divine Will is not living in a community. Living in the Divine Will is that interior life of union with God, where you act and expand in the Divine Will, as I said in the morning. For that, organizations are needed, or not needed. There is a specific chapter where our Lord tells Luisa, I will be the leader. I don't want leaders nor institutions. And they start making those institutions. The bishops don't like it because of the external ways they have. They forbid it. But that has nothing to do with Luisa. We must know how to differentiate. Because Luisa, it's what I say, what current bishop will condemn a blessed? What current bishop will have an opinion contrary to a blessed and to 4 archbishops who have examined? No. They can have an opinion about someone's attitude by saying, no, that's not right. But it seems that they condemn Luisa. But if they condemn Luisa, they condemn the one who is blessed and condemn what the church has done in this, and even the Pope who beatified him. The Pope already had an opinion on Hannibal Maria de Francia.
Está mal.
He beatified
Ahora sí
him.
está mal.
What bishop
Tú
will
que
say
te
no?
tienes,
It's
estás
wrong.
aplicando los escritos de Luis en tu beneficio. Eso
What they
está
will
mal.
say is wrong is the attitude you have of applying Luisa's writings for your
Y
own
tú
benefit.
andas en los problemas.
That is what is wrong. I forbid that.
Sí, y luego
And that's where the
continúan lo
problems
mismo,
come from.
Y viene la desobediencia, vienen tantas cosas.
And then they continue the same, and disobedience comes. So many things come.